The only thing that we need to do is update the instruction manual, and then we'll be ready to actually
finally release it. Instruction manual for the people who buy it on Amazon?
Oh yeah,
That's awesome.
absolutely.
How does it feel?
It feels great, but the reason why I brought you in here today is because I want to ask you, like, for someone new starting on an Amazon, where do you begin? How do you start a business? How do you start selling online?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked this question, Caleb. I know a lot of you guys have asked this question. How do I start an online business? So today, I'm gonna pull from all of my failures, all of my successes, everything I can. We're gonna talk to you how you can do it. The way we're gonna teach this is not the way you expect. If this was my last day to ever teach anything about being an entrepreneur, what I tell you today is what I would tell you right now. And I'm gonna give you 4 steps. Now, before I give these steps, I'm gonna explain something that some will find strange. Okay. You have to know your 4 main assets.
My 4 main assets,
your
like
4 main assets.
Inventory, taxes, salesman? Like, what
a lot of people, and those are very good examples of assets, and a lot of people would naturally think of assets that way. Okay. But the assets I'm talking about, Caleb, are different. These assets are people, time, knowledge, and money. Okay. Hardly anyone talks about these, but they're so important, because if I don't understand these assets, and if I don't understand the role they play in my ability to build a business, then I will not be successful. So everything I say today is gonna be revolved around those 4 things. And here's what I love about this. When you know these assets, you can make a wise decision based on where you're at in your journey. Like, for example, let's just say, man, Seth, I got no cash. Then use these assets. You can still build a business. Really? You just leverage another asset. Or Seth, I got no knowledge, but I got lots of people to help me. You can still build a business. Knowing these assets has helped me, has helped Josiah, my business partner, in so many ways. And I'm gonna break it down into 4 steps. Feed your brain. You need knowledge. You need knowledge. You cannot build a business without knowledge. Knowledge is so important. You have to have knowledge. But the funny thing is, people go, well, Seth, there's lots of knowledge on the internet.
Yeah, there is.
There's lots of knowledge on YouTube.
There is.
I'm good to go.
Okay.
You know what else is true?
What?
There's lots of food in the world. And a lot of it's bad for you.
Yeah.
In fact, some of it's deadly if you eat it long enough.
Yeah, fast food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can have a lot of knowledge and still get it all wrong if you don't have the right knowledge.
Right.
So how do I know if I'm getting the right knowledge? Listen to people who actually live it out. In other words, they're doing it. Let me just give you an example right now. So I'm gonna log in here to Seller Central. I'm gonna click right here. I wanna show you just in the last few weeks, few months, how much revenue we have generated at 40% profit margin on 3 products that we launched a few months ago. We are just over 40% profit margin, and look at these numbers. This is why I love teaching what we're learning, is because we're going through the ups and the downs. I mean, even when we walked in here, you're like, Seth, you know, we're doing the instructions, but we had a surprise mistake, and then the supplier did this.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you get what it's like.
Yeah.
It is not easy. And when someone says, oh, it's easy, no, it's not. So if people try to make it look like it's easy, then they're probably lying. Or they're just trying to say things to get you to buy a course, or they have ulterior motives. To build a business, you need knowledge. Where do I get knowledge? From people who actually live it out. That is your first step. Find people who can teach you, who can show you. In fact, I would rather, if I had the choice, Caleb, of listening to a professor who had read 50, 100 books on how to be an entrepreneur versus from one who had been in the pit. He had been in the war. He had been in battle. He had bullets flying past his head. I would so much rather be next to someone, a veteran, who's gone through it, who's failed, who's suffered, than someone who just says nice things because he found it in a book or in a course or in a YouTube video somehow, and it must be okay.
Right. Yeah, that's very different. Well, how do you distill between knowledge that is wise and knowledge that is not wise, like false knowledge? Because some people think that they know something,
right,
but it's not true. What's a common misconception, or it hurts them in the end?
Excellent question. Here's how you do it. You act on it as soon as you learn it. Because here's the thing, no matter how much knowledge you gain from a course, and I'm talking about good courses like Just One Dime, and there's other great courses out there. Yeah. No matter how much you gain, there's always a limitation. You can't just say, well, because I read this, if I do this, I will get this. You don't know that, because what if this supplier reacts different than expected? Yeah. What if the exchange currency rate changes? What if all of a sudden a new supplier comes in, their competitor, and they're selling on Amazon, they undercut you? So the best way to learn is you do. You go out and you put it into practice. There's some people that are like, you know what, Caleb? I'm gonna wait until I have all the knowledge in the world. Like I got everything, every box is checked off. I got all the stats, right? Now I'm good to go. The funny thing is by the time they get to that place, the e-commerce world has already changed. And now they have to go start over again. You can't do it that way. You have to learn as you go. That's why in the FBA Mastery training, we say at the end of every single lesson, here are your next steps. Here's what you need to do now. And a lot of times we'll say, do not go watch another video, go put it into action. Yeah. It's like eating food that you don't digest. Who wants to be constipated? The food needs to go through you so you can learn and exercise and use the food that you are consuming. So the first thing is feed your brain.
That's very powerful. Well, what if a lot of people who are starting their journey, they don't feel like they know anything?
Yeah.
So they're beginning to learn, but there's so many places to learn from, right? Should you focus on one teacher, or should you focus on gathering an index of multiple teachers to build you?
A few.
So
I wouldn't find like 50, 60, 70 teachers, because what's gonna happen is you're gonna get overwhelmed with trying to vet all of them. You're also going to start getting a lot of overlapping advice, which means you're wasting your time. I would get a few, 3 to 4 to 5 teachers. There are just a few people I learned from. One of them being Robert Kiyosaki, one of them being Tom Wheelwright, one of them being people in this office, specifically Josiah, who's really helped me with the scalability of my businesses. So I have a few people who mentor me, a few people. Ted Beasley here in Austin, he's helped us a ton when it comes to operations and scaling. So find a few, a handful. You might have your main teacher, but it's good to have a few because no teacher knows everything. And check this out, here's what I love about it. Get teachers in different industries. My main thing has never been real estate, yet I'm learning a lot about it and I'm taking Amazon profits and putting them into real estate. And what I find is some principles in real estate apply to Amazon FBA. So it's like, oh my goodness, I'm learning even these books here, not all of these are about Amazon FBA. None of them are about Amazon FBA. But do you know I can learn, and I have learned things from these books that apply to Amazon FBA? Because there are universal principles in this world that apply to every situation.
Powerful. So knowledge. What you're telling me is knowledge is essential for running a business. It feeds your brain. And everyone has time for knowledge, and everyone should have a group of people that they follow and that they learn from. And to distill between facts and falsehoods, they need to just take action and apply it and learn from themselves.
And learn from people who are actually doing it, not people who are touting because they have an ulterior motive to get you to buy something. Yeah. They actually are living it out. They're doing it. The next asset that you must know, and I'm gonna put it this way. Number 1, we have feed the brain. Number 2, we have feed your baby.
Like children are my asset?
Yes, but a different kind of children. You know, you came up with this idea, this great idea, and you fell in love with this idea, and you conceived a baby called your business. Oh. You must feed your business. Now here's what's interesting. Imagine a parent with a newborn child, and they say, I'm gonna go buy them 21 cute little onesies. I'm gonna get them a titanium bassinet. I'm gonna get them this latest state-of-the-art stroller. I'm gonna get them a 2 years worth of diapers inventory, but they don't feed the baby. That's what a lot of people do to their business. They start their business and they get their LLC, and they get their cyber liability insurance, and they get their general liability business insurance. And they do all these extra things. They spend hundreds on their logo. They hire a CPA. They get a lawyer. All these extra things. And they forget the most important thing, and that is your business needs money. Your business must have money. You gotta feed your business. If you're trying to get everything set up right now perfect before you start, you'll never start. It'll never be perfect. You have to become okay with ambiguity. One of the beautiful things about being an entrepreneur is you become close friends with ambiguity. You become comfortable with what may not all be set up perfectly. If you're holding a newborn baby, you're not going to wait around to feed it. It needs milk immediately. This means you find your product, you build that product, you launch it, and you start feeding your business cash.
Okay, well, obviously my business needs cash, but what if, like, I don't have cash? What if someone out there does not have the cash to start a business?
Yeah.
Where do they go?
I started with 10 cents. I was $24,000 in debt. I didn't have cash. So how did I do it? I started by doubling my dime up to $400. I took that $400. I purchased my first product to sell on Amazon, which was cremation urns you hang around your neck. I purchased them off DH Gate. Now, someone may say, well, Seth, I'm not going to spend the time going around talking to random people, doubling a dime. Cool story, but can I do a little faster? Yes, you can. Why don't you start working for Lyft and Uber? What if you get a second job? What if you go through your house and think of all the things we have, especially Americans, that we don't need? There are so many online places where you can sell stuff. Heck, why don't you go to Walmart, find a product that's selling for $20, look on Amazon, hey, it's selling for $80. Oh my goodness, buy it from Walmart, sell it on Amazon. You just made money. What's funny is earlier today I was doing a podcast and the host asked a similar question. And I said, you know what's funny? Right now as we speak, my wife is out there thrifting, buying and reselling, making money. Within just a few days, we would have enough money to launch another product on Amazon. It's not hard to make money. What's hard is to get over the mindset that blocks us from making money. We get locked into this routine where, oh, I don't have time. It's 6 o'clock. I'm tired. It's Saturday. I need rest. Like we start telling ourselves we need all these things, when in reality, there comes a time where you have to get off your butt and you go out and you make money. And then you take that money and you use it to launch your first product, and then you start making big money.
That's a very good point. I heard this amazing quote, and I want to hear your thoughts on this, that it's very easy to get money, but it's even harder to keep money.
It's so true. It is so true. And I think the reason it is harder to keep money than it is to get money is because of a relationship with money is often toxic. You could be broker than I was and become a multi-millionaire. I did it. How? I had to believe. I had to get over my issues. I had to start taking ownership. It's one's relationship with money. Once people have a lot of money, the vast majority of people who win the sweepstakes end up divorced if they're married, and they lose all the money within the first year, like over 90%. Why is that? Because no one ever taught them how to manage money. Our relationship with money is super important. So I first have to say, okay, money is not my God and it's not gross. It is a tool. It's not God. I don't worship it and bow down to it. And it's not gross. It's not evil. Money's not evil. The love of money can get really evil, but not money. It is a tool to be leveraged to make more money. It's almost like I have to divorce myself from my money. It's over here and I'm here. And instead of me like, ooh, it's my money, make sure I keep it. It's like, no, here's my money. Okay. How can I use this amount to invest in stocks? This amount to get a rental property. This amount to buy my first product, even if it's only $10. I can still generate more. $10 is enough to buy something at a discount store and resell it on eBay and make cash. My wife does it every day for fun.
So what you're doing is you're putting your money into things that turns around and makes you money.
Yes.
Okay.
That's it. You're taking your money. You're saying, money, I don't want you to buy me coffee. Money, I don't want you to be in my wallet. Money, you're not going to my savings account. I'm putting you to work, baby. Let's go.
Wow.
And you tell the money to go work. And what are you doing? I buy this. I move it into a different atmosphere, a different context. That's arbitrage. The value went up. And it goes up and up and up and up until I have enough. And now I can use this to buy 1,000 units of a product I know will sell well because I differentiated it well to sell on Amazon. Guys, this is exactly how I did it. This is how my wife and I did it. One of my favorite things to do with her was this. We would go to a store like Five and Below. We would find these t-shirts with this like really silly or funny design. We'd send them into Amazon, find out which one sells really well, then go make our own private label version of it and build a brand out of that logo and a whole line of clothing from that.
Oh, wow.
That's how we ended up being on the New York fashion runway with models. We weren't the models. We had 8 models representing our clothing brand, and we got to be there as the designers.
That's cool.
How did that start? With 10 cents. Wow. Listen, I promise you this. Money is not a reason to not build a business. If you lack it now, and you're like, Seth, I literally don't have enough. I get it. But don't let that stop you. Don't shelve your idea. You can make money and build a business even if you start with little. You just have to figure out, how do I get more until I have enough to use that money to work for me?
I'm going to ask you something very, very hyper-specific.
Sure.
So a lot of people are afraid of math,
Yeah.
including myself. I know you're a big math guy, but I'm not a big math guy.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of people talk about budgeting.
Sure.
Does everyone have to budget? Do I really need to know where every single cent goes? Could I just generalize? Can I save myself some time?
Great question. The issue with budgeting has nothing to do with math. It has everything to do with self-discipline.
What do you mean by that?
The reason I didn't budget for years is because I was too lazy. The reason I didn't budget for years is because I didn't have the self-discipline to do it. Now, granted, no one taught me to budget. I love my parents, but they didn't teach me. No teacher in school taught me to budget. No one taught me. So I could use that as an excuse and say, I'm a victim. No. Sure, that wasn't right, but I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to act on that. I'm going to change that. How do I do that? I decide I'm going to start getting disciplined with my money. Budgeting is not hard. You could be the worst mathematician in the world and be extremely wealthy. You don't have to be good at math to make a lot of money. Knowing math is great. I think it's fun.
Yeah, I don't understand you.
But that's not why I'm wealthy. It's nothing to do with my math skills. It has to do with I had to change my mindset about money. So how do you budget? You figure out what is my income, what is my outcome, and what is the difference. And if my outcome is higher than my income, Houston, we got a big problem.
Yeah, okay.
So how do I reduce my living expenses? There's ways to do it. Very practical ways to do it. You can shave a little here, a little there, lower internet expense, use the electricity less, don't use the stove so much. There's so many ways. And then say, okay, how do I raise my income? For the longest time, I just focused on reducing my output. That helped, but it never made me wealthy. It wasn't until I also focused on increasing my input, my income. That's what made me wealthy. The output matters. Yes, you don't want to waste it. But that'll only get you so far because you literally, I'm sure you ate today. I ate today. That costs money. There are certain things you have to spend. So if you're not making enough money, you have to say, okay, how do I go out and find more money? There's so many ways to do it.
Okay, so let me recap this.
Yeah.
So the other important asset to your business is money.
Yes.
Because it's the lifeblood, because you are feeding your baby, for lack of a better term.
Yes.
And without money, your business will fail. And
Amen.
you need to continue. You need to bring down your output so that way you have enough money and you need to invest that money into other things that put you in and give you back more money.
Exactly. You nailed it. One of the biggest mistakes entrepreneurs make is they fail to protect their time. Now, this is why. Here's the way it works. Middle class and poor people trade their time for money.
Yeah.
Wealthy people trade their money for time. In other words, a middle class or poor person will often think, okay, I need to spend time at a job or in a position to make money. Then they consume the money and they need more money.
Yeah.
And this cycle never ends. There's nothing wrong with it, but if you want to grow wealthy, you need to shift your thinking to saying, okay, when can I get to a point where I'm actually spending money that will give me time back?
Okay.
That's how you become wealthy. And the funny thing is when you do that, you actually become more wealthy. Because when you get that time back, now you have time to work on your business that will give you more time because it gives you more money. Here's one of my favorite examples of this.
Okay.
For the longest time, I used to mow my own lawn. It takes me about 90 minutes every Saturday.
Okay.
One day it crossed my mind, why don't I take about $50 per Saturday, pay a mower to mow my lawn for me, that's about $200 a month, and take that time back and use it to build my business, which can make me 10 times 200 in the future. So I felt like, oh, I'm saving money. But not really, because when will I ever get out of this cycle? I will always, to save money, be mowing my lawn, which means I will never have that 90 minutes to work on my business. So I started thinking, okay, instead, I'm going to take the 90 minutes, I'm going to work on building a business, and that business will make me far more money than the money I paid the lawnmower. That's a perfect example. I spent money to give myself time, and in that time, I built a business, and the business makes me more money.
Okay, so I need time to build my business, but not everyone has all the time in the world. Like some people don't even have the time to mow their lawns. That takes 90 minutes. That's a lot. So how do you find the time if it feels like you have no time?
Yeah, people have more time than they think. The reason I say this is if you think about from the time I get up in the morning to the time I get back home, okay, that I could say that's my work day. Once I get home, what am I doing? Most people have 4 to 5 hours the rest of the day before they go to bed. How do I spend the time? Well, Seth, I need to eat. I need to get a shower. I go to the gym. Okay, great. Let's say I have 2.5 hours left. If I multiply 2.5 hours by 5, just for the work week alone, we're not even talking about Saturday and Sunday, and then do that 52 times in the year, we are talking about a ton of time that I have. We have more time than we think, and time is special. Most newbie entrepreneurs, they don't value time like they should. Like the other day, I got this email from someone, and he said, will you please call me? I don't know who he is. He just sent me his number, and I thought, that's something I would do years ago when I was interested in learning from someone who was an expert in a field I wasn't. I would just say, would you call me? What gave him the idea that I would just call a random person? Now, I didn't feel offended by it, but does he understand how much I value my time? I'm not going to spend the time to call a random person I never met just because they asked. He obviously thinks I just have time, but I wouldn't be in this place today if I responded impulsively to requests like that. See, time is unique because it's the one asset you will never get a refund on. You can spend money, you can get it back. You can lose knowledge, you can get it back. But once you spend a second, that second never comes back. And every second I'm closer to breathing my last. And that's why it's so important I move to action now.
Well, let me pick your brain a little bit. You said that your time is very valuable to you. How detailed is your day-to-day schedule? Like, do you have every single minute planned out? Do you have hour-long chunks, or do you just have a task list that you just tackle every single day?
Very good question. I have hour-long chunks, and I also have a task list. And every day I Slack myself in the Slack application, all of the things that need to get done. Some of them have to happen today. Some of them have to happen within the next week. And some of them are big tasks that I will get to when I have more time. And I prioritize them like this. What tasks will give me the best ROI on my investment? Like this time I'm spending. I'm not talking about it'll give me money right now. I'm saying long-term and not just money. It will give me more funds. It'll also give me more freedom, and it'll give me more satisfaction, because success isn't just money. It's who you are. It's your life experience. It's changing. It's your heart growing. That is success. It's having freedom.
Okay. Here's one thing that I've noticed. Especially a long time ago, I used to be a hardcore procrastinator. Well, I would go home and there'd be so many things that like I wanted to do, but it was just so difficult that I'd rather be doing other things.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, procrastination is their number one enemy.
Sure.
How do you overcome procrastination? How do you get more time in your life? How do you find that found time that you've been stowing away?
Yeah. It's all up here. If you call yourself a procrastinator, you'll probably continue to be a procrastinator. But if you say, I struggle with this, I struggle with following through on my commitments and obligations, now you've just subtly told yourself you can't overcome it. So it starts up in your mind. Second, get accountability. Have someone text you at a certain time every day, did you accomplish this? Set up something that will make you uncomfortable in the moment where you're most likely to be weak. Third, find out when you tend to be weak. A lot of people procrastinate when they're tired. Other people procrastinate when they're high on caffeine. So you need to know what are your triggers that usually occur when you tend to procrastinate. One thing for me is I follow the Brian Tracy rule, is eat the frog first. I do the hardest things first.
Oh, okay.
And if I do the hardest things first at the beginning of the day, the rest of the day is so much easier to get everything done that I want to finish.
That makes a lot of sense. So when it comes to time, of course, our bodies are timed very differently. There's some people like me who are a bit younger who they feel like they can take on the world, and there's a lot of people who are older who have a lot of regret within them. They don't feel like they can start because it's just way too late.
Yeah.
Is there a starting age that you need to be at? Is there a cut off line? Like, can you not make it past 50?
There is a starting age. I'm so glad you asked that.
Okay.
And this is very important you understand this age. There is a very specific age where you need to start. Okay. And that age is now. No one cares how old you are. We tend to think people care about it. What we're really reflecting is what we think about ourselves. No one cares. No one cares how young you are. The world won't stop. It is a time, it doesn't stop. It keeps ticking. What matters is that you start, because every second you lose another second. Whether you're 80 or 8, I don't care. You start now.
Okay, so time, it's that one resource that you can never get a refund on.
Yeah.
Rich people trade in their money for time. Poor people trade in their time for money.
Exactly.
To use your time effectively, what you got to do is you got to task out your day, and you got to go and tackle that and make sure you get all of them done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And then lastly, what you need to do is you just need to start now. There is no age. There is no perfect age.
Yep. This one is the most important.
Okay.
You're not going to expect this, but you ready? Manage people.
Okay.
Manage people? If I'm starting a business, I probably don't have a team that I manage. I don't have a contractor. I don't have an employee. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, like I get that, but as someone who's just starting,
right.
like who are other people in their lives?
Exactly. The man in the mirror.
Themselves?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
The most important and the most challenging person you will ever manage is yourself. See, here's what happens. When you finally quit your 9 to 5 and you're doing your business full time, no one's there to wake you up. Okay, maybe your boss isn't there to wake you up. That'd be a little creepy. But I mean, in your head, they're not saying, hey, you have to be here at 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock. No one's saying that. I could sleep in another hour. Who cares? I got all day tomorrow.
Right.
No one's there to keep you from checking Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and spending 3 hours that just go by really quickly. I'll do it later. No one is there to hold you accountable. No, actually, no, there is someone who's there, and that's you. In other words, you're your own boss. You know, I know it sounds romantic and like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna be my own boss. I'm gonna fire my boss. I'm gonna be independent. I'm gonna make it happen. It is the hardest thing in the world. Let me warn you, entrepreneurs. It's so hard to do, especially in the early days. Because you have to manage yourself. You have to be objective with yourself. You have to hold yourself accountable. You have to disagree with yourself. No. You have to get yourself to stop procrastinating, like you said earlier. You manage yourself. And yet some wise person said, self-mastery is the greatest mastery of all. Because once you learn to manage yourself, then you really experience freedom. The entire reason you started building a business in the first place.
Okay, so what if we start scaling? What if we start getting our business to a spot where we want it? Do we need to hire like employees? Because I want to live like my passive freedom life.
Yeah.
Do I need to like create an office and have a bunch of like people that I'm accountable for? Can I do virtual assistants? Like how do I maintain my passive income while hiring new people?
Great question. For some people, they love hiring people. They love the team mindset. They want to be physically around people. They're like, hey, this is inspiring. I love it. I'm learning. I'm growing. I'm getting people smarter than me in different areas so I can grow. So that might be freedom for you. That might be passive for you. I don't think entrepreneurs ever really stop working. I don't know of any entrepreneur who just goes retires on the beach because they love what they do. And I don't think they would be wealthy in the first place if they didn't love what they do.
Right.
But Seth, you just said self-mastery is really difficult. I did, yet I love it at the same time. It is hard, but that challenge is what keeps us going. So it depends on who you are. Some people, they need to hire a team. Other people, absolutely. You can hire virtual assistants. You meet with them every morning at from 8 to 10, make sure they're good to go, or once a week, 8 to 10, and that's it. And you make sure they're doing their job. And once your business is scaling, specifically if it's Amazon FBA, there's less and less you need to do. I will never forget the days, Caleb, where my family and I would spend deep into the night standing over the printer, printing out shipping label after shipping label, pulling the tape, putting the product in the box, taping up the box, getting it ready, scheduling with USPS.com so they would come and pick up every morning at our doorstep, except Sundays, and ship out the products. Now, I enjoyed it for a while, and then we all hated it. And then I heard about Amazon FBA, Fulfilled by Amazon, where they fulfill the order for you. That's an example where I decided, okay, I got these resources. We are spending as people too much time on this. It's exhausting us. So we're going to leverage other people. I will pay Amazon more in fees for them to fulfill the orders for me. That's FBA fees. So that I get time back in my day. That's leveraging the asset of people. People are the most heartbreaking, but they are also the most rewarding, and they are eternal. People are precious. You cannot put a price tag on people. That's why I saved this one for the last.
When you are the biggest asset in a way, how do you get that drive to want to work hard? Because like why would I want to work harder? Like I want to work smarter. I want things to get easier. Why would I work harder? How do I do that? Why?
Yeah, the work is inside. It's an inside job. Happiness is an inside job. The real work is what's going on in my mind, what's going on in my emotions, how I'm having conflicting feelings, how I'm responding to this or that. That's the real work. I don't think that work ever ends. I just think what happens is at the beginning, let's just say problems are anywhere from a 1 to a 5. 5 is a big problem and 1 is a little tiny problem. First year of entrepreneurship, a size 1 problem feels to us like a 5.
Yeah.
Okay, by year 3, a size 3 problem feels to us like a 3. And by year 5 as an entrepreneur, a size 5 problem feels like to us like a 1. What happened? You changed, you grew.
Yeah.
So there's an inside work. However, having said that, it's not about not wanting to work. It's about finding the kind of work that you love that for many people now becomes passive. For example, what if you love researching products on Amazon? So you get virtual assistants to handle other things like PPC and customer service and talking to suppliers. All you do is come up with the new product idea. That's what you love. That's passive income because you're doing what you love with the people you love when you love.
That's very powerful. Okay. So people are one of the most valuable assets that you have.
They're the most valuable. Like
Wow.
people are at the top because here's the other reason, very practical answer to that. In people, you get more time, you get more knowledge, you get more money.
Oh, yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Okay. So with people, you get all the 4 other assets.
You do.
And the biggest struggle is yourself.
Amen.
You are the biggest person.
Well said.
Got it. Okay. And then when managing people, you might want to be with people. You might actually want to create a system where you work with more people frequently.
Right.
Or you could create a system where you are removed from the process, but you have an automatic system where people are running the rest of your business for you while you focus on what you love.
Yeah, well said. You reminded me of this. Guys, go to jod.com/personality. You can get what is called the Personality Awareness Guide. I love this guide. I learned it from Apple. This isn't my original idea, but we created our own version of it. Looking at this will help you to understand yourself. And the better you understand yourself, the better you can be your own self's boss, the sooner you can gain freedom for you and those you love.
Seth, I got a scenario for you.
Sure.
Let's say there's a guy who works 40 hours a week. He's got a wife, he's got kids, so he's pretty tied up, but he's got a college friend who really works with him. They want to create a business together, but he's got no money. Let's say he's negative money. He's like $24,000 in debt. But thankfully, he's actually subscribed to Just One Dime. And he's hit the notification bell, and he's watched a couple of our videos, but he's not an expert on Amazon FBA yet.
Yeah.
What would we do for him?
Let's grade his assets. So when you get in a situation like this, let's look at people, time, knowledge, money, and grade each one, okay?
Okay.
So let's start with people.
Okay.
You said he has a friend who wants to build a business with him, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so from 1 being the least, 5 being the most, where would you grade his asset level for people?
I guess that would be about a 2. He's someone he's got a friend who likes him, who's obviously pretty passionate.
Perfect, a 2. Now let's go to time. You said he works 40 hours a week.
40 hours a week.
He does have, you said, a wife and a couple kids. That takes up a little more time.
Yeah.
But he probably has time on weekends and at least a little bit in evenings. Where would you grade his time from a 1 the least, 5 being the most?
It's probably a 2 or a 3, I'd imagine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to say a 3.
3. Okay.
Because I've had 2 kids and I know how much time he has.
Okay.
Okay, let's talk about knowledge. From a 1 to a 5, you said he knows quite a bit.
Yeah.
He's following Just One Dime on YouTube. That's great. But he hasn't done anything yet.
Yeah.
So he has, book knowledge, but not practical knowledge.
He's got about a 3 in knowledge.
He's got a 3.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about money?
He's like -3 in money. He's got 1 money.
Okay. So money's super low. Friend and time are higher. This means he needs to be very self-disciplined with himself. And every evening he can, even if it's just an hour and a half, he tells his wife, look, for an hour and a half, I got to work on this business to create ourselves margin to get out of debt. And hopefully she's on board with that. And his friend comes over and they work on it together. An hour and a half. Let's just say 2 hours.
2 hours.
Okay, 2 hours. He's only 40 hours a week job. I know he's got kids, but let's just say 2 hours, okay?
Okay,
That's
2 hours.
10 hours a week. And then let's say he does 3 hours on Saturday, 3 hours on Sunday. That's 16 hours a week. At 16 hours a week, he can build a massive Amazon FBA business. If he takes the time to do it with his friend, learn together, get excellent training from people who actually sell on Amazon, that's what he needs to do. He can't quit his job. He needs some time with his kids. He's got little ones, so he can't spend 10 hours a day, but he does have time. That's what he should do, based on those assets.
That's a really good evaluation. Okay, so I have another situation for you. Let's say someone is recently unemployed, and it's due to recent events. And maybe they moved recently, so they're not near any friends or any family. In fact, they feel quite alone.
Okay.
And now that they don't have any money, they only have about 3 months until they get kicked out of their apartment. They are on the clock. They know how to use a laptop, but they have no knowledge on how to sell online. What would we do for them?
Okay, let's do the grading.
Okay.
People.
What 0. 1.
1. It's just them.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Time.
She's got a lot of time on her hands. I would say a 5.
It's a 5 for sure. Yep, I agree. Knowledge.
She's a 1.
She's a 1. And money.
Well, she's about to run out, so maybe a 2?
Yeah, a 1 or a 2. I mean, she probably needs that to live on. So for her business, it's technically a 1.
Right. So for a business, it is a 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the only thing she has a lot of is time. So what she's going to do is she's going to save her 3 months of money. I mean, she has to use it to live, but she's not going to use it up.
Yeah.
She's alone right now. Chances of finding a new business partner are probably slim, and she's on the clock, like you said. So she needs to use that time to go find a job so that she can support herself, and then use the rest of her time, similar to the previous scenario, building her business, learning about Amazon so she can gain that knowledge. And then over time, if she's able to save up enough, she can launch her first product.
That makes sense. Okay, so she's leveraging all of her time to get the other assets.
Exactly. You're going to protect the one asset that you have the least of. How do you do that? You leverage the other one. Look, if I have no money but I got a lot of time, I'm going to mow my lawn, right?
Okay.
But if I have no time but I got a lot of money, I'm going to pay someone to mow the lawn so I can use that time to make more money.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, I got one more other scenario for you.
Sure.
So this girl, she's got to work 70 hours a week. She is busy. But unfortunately, she has an old grandpa who's very sick, and she needs to take care of him. And she only gets like 5 hours of sleep every single night because she's taking care of him. So she has $80,000 saved up plus a cushion. And she also knows the basics of how to set up a business, but she knows nothing about the online space. In fact, it terrifies her. What should she do?
Let's use the asset grade practice. Here we go. So let's start with people, where she's at.
Well, right now she's just by herself. It's a 1.
Yeah, in time.
Ooh, it's a 1 right now.
And knowledge.
Well, she's probably got about a 2. She knows a little bit about business in general, but not about Amazon FBA in specific.
Okay. And what about cash?
Well, she's got a lot of cash spared up.
In this situation, she needs to invest. She has a great job. She's making great money. Of course, she wants to be there for her grandfather, so she can't take time away from him. I mean, he could be close to his last years. So what she needs to do is say, well, I have a lot of money. This is a big asset. How can I use this money to give back what I'm losing or not having? And that is time. So what she's going to do is take that money. She's going to invest it in some kind of stocks or bonds or real estate or service that will make her more money. And in the future, allow her ideally to leave her job. So now she can spend that time with her father and focus on other things she would like to do. So for example, we have a program that does exactly this, done for you. A lot of people come to us and they say, Seth, we want you to build a business for us. I don't have time, I don't have knowledge, and I don't have someone to do it with, but I do have cash. So will you build us an Amazon private label business, and then we can share in the revenue on a sliding scale so that we will never, just one dime, will only make as much or less than they do on every sale. We can't make money unless they do. This is why this is such an attractive model. And I'm not talking about drop shipping. This is talking about private label brand building.
Got it. Okay, so you're exchanging, you're receiving money, and you're giving people time back.
Yes, and we're taking our 50 years, over 50 years, if you combine all of our knowledge, it's 50 plus years of combined experience, and we're putting it into their store.
Wow.
Yeah, if you guys are interested, go to jod.com/DFY. JOD stands for just one dime.com/DFY. Done for you. If this is your situation and you want to apply for us to build an Amazon business for you.
Okay, well that was very, very, very helpful.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the conversation, Caleb. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this conversation just for fun. He and I did very little planning for this conversation. We literally just put up an outline because we want it to be as organic as possible. Yeah. Just remember this. If you want to start an online business, you can start an online business. You can. All you need to do is say, okay, where am I at with people? Where am I at with time? Where am I at with knowledge? And where am I at with money? That is how you begin a business. If you found this video helpful, like it, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you get notified every time we come out with new content. But I would love to know something, guys. What asset do you have the most stuff? Will you comment below and tell us? Have an awesome day. This is Seth, keeping it real, and this is Caleb Allen Stratton.
See you guys later.